Hello, another week. I'm Parker, you're you. Welcome to Element. We're in a series called Choose Your Own Adventure, talking about how the decisions you make determine where you end up. And tonight we're talking about this idea of conscience. Like, am I going to think about this when I lay my head on the pillow tonight? Is it going to keep me up at night that I made this mistake? Now, here's the cool thing about the gospel. Is it totally awards you the opportunity to make mistakes, redeem them, and move forward and learn from them. Like, there is forgiveness on forgiveness on forgiveness for you. So don't worry about, like, you know, at every point in life, someone has said something, done something, or written something, or posted something that they regret. Totally. That's the human experience. And some people, here's the thing, then we become prisoners of that regret. Like, some people don't even go back to that building ever again. Some people don't go back to their hometown ever again because of something they said. Some people never talk to that person again, or totally avoid them at all costs because of a fight that they had or whatever. That's a prison, man. That you are captive under that regret. How do we break free? Because we could talk about the mistakes we make all day long. How do we break free from that feeling of regret, clearing our conscience so that we can have peace moving forward in life? That's what I care about today. Think about this. Think about you come home and you're grumpy, maybe school didn't go great, and you're an absolute turd to your parents or your guardians or your grandparents or like whoever's taking care of you that day, and you go and you pout your room and you're really mean, and then 5 o'clock rolls around and you remember as your stomach kind of growls that you go, oh, they're the ones who feed me. And so you have a few options at that point. Like, you could go up and act like nothing happened and kind of, acting like a psycho. But second, you could go up and just mope and just pout and not look at them and not say anything. And I don't know, that's pretty uncomfortable. Third, you could walk up and go, hey, sorry, I was kind of a turd back there and had a bad day at school. And, usually good, willing parental figures will go, yeah, you were, but I get it. I had bad days too. And then you actually get to enjoy dinner. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think about the way that we put ourselves captive into these regret moments, into these unclear conscious moments, and then we just live in it. Like, that's such a prison. You're a slave to your own mistakes. The gospel is so much better than that. It gives you so much more freedom than that. And Jesus walks us through how we should take care of these things. So this was in the Sermon on the Mount. This is when Jesus had his big debut and he came out and taught what the kingdom of God was going to be like here on earth, how it was going to change us from the inside out. So this is Matthew. Oh, dropped my iPad. I know I have a head cold. I know I sound nasally and stuff, and like I have 5 golf balls up in my sign. It says, well, you know what? If you don't like it, you come do the video. Sorry. See? And now we're back to normal. I apologize. It's working. Okay. Matthew chapter 5. Attention and a release. Very good. Every good plot line, every good story has tension and release. Matthew chapter 5. Every good video, sermon teaching, has tension and release. And we're okay now. Matthew chapter 5. Verse 23 through 24, he's teaching people, he's saying this is how you want to conduct yourselves in these matters. He's talking about being in conflict with people, being angry at people. If you enter a place of worship and you're about to make an offering, and you suddenly remember a grudge a friend has against you, abandon the offering. So basically saying, like, if you're going to pull up to your life house, if you're going to pull up to church, if you're going to come and worship, if you're going to be in the presence of God and you remember things aren't right between you and somebody, it's better for you to go settle that thing than to pretend to worship God and act like everything is okay. Pretty challenging teaching. Jesus says, leave immediately. Go to that friend, go to that family member, make things right. Break that bondage. Break that feeling of being in prison of your own regret and your own conflicts. Then and only then, he says, come back and work things out with God. So Jesus puts a really high priority on the status of our relationships, especially the important ones in our lives, and bringing peace back into them. And it's really challenging. I know that some of these are easy, you didn't invite a friend to a party and you just need to go, hey, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. It was stupid. I'll do better next time. And it wasn't personal. And here's the thing, you can't control what they do with that. It might take them 5 days to cool off and go, I forgive you. Like, they don't owe you that forgiveness right there in that second. You got to give them time. You can't control how they make you feel. You just have to offer what you have to offer in that moment. But some of these are really hard. Maybe you've been really deeply hurt by someone in your life, and there's going to have to be a process. And that's why you have element coaches. That's why you have peers next to you right now in this environment, so that you could talk through that and kind of work through spiritually what's happening in your hearts. And then that way, when you move into those hard situations, those hard conversations, somebody's got your back and that they're praying for you. But the way that we move into that forgiveness and redemption of relationships is we have to remember how Jesus forgives us. That's the saving grace, the motivation, the good news of the gospel, is because you can take a pen and a piece of paper and you could write a list a mile long of all the things you've gotten wrong. And then here's what you could do. You could take that pen and cross out every single one of them and say, Jesus has forgiven that. Jesus died and he rose from the dead so that I could be free from those mistakes. Now, like, it's even in the Gospels. Like, a woman was brought to him who was caught in adultery, like cheating on her husband, okay? And he says, I'm not here to cast judgment against you. I don't condemn you. But then he also says this. So there's forgiveness, but then he says, go and sin no more. So yeah, I forgive you, but there's an expectation that you learn from this. And I think that's just a part of this redemption process too, but we have to remember how much Jesus forgives us, and then we have to apply that same forgiveness to the people. People ask Jesus, like, how many times should we forgive people? And he goes, why don't you forgive people 70 times, 7 times? And the whole idea there is just like, it was just like a buffoonery type response of going like, forgive them as many times as they need to be forgiven because of how you've been forgiven. So we have to remember the cross. We have to remember the resurrection, and have to remember the new life that God has granted us and the freedom from our mistakes. It's the good news of the gospel, and then we take that good news into the world by offering other people forgiveness who might not deserve it, but it will clear our conscience that we played the cards that we needed to play, that we said, hey, I'm sorry for what I did. I can't control what you do with that, but I'm done with this regret. I'm done with this filthy conscience. I'm done with this prison that I live in every night when I come to dinner, or whatever it is. So how do we start to have that conversation? I think this is one of the tricky parts, is like, yeah, you want that. So I just wanted to give you some tangible tools. First, if it feels awkward, that means it matters. That's like been tried, tested, and true in my life. If the conversation feels awkward, that means it matters, and you're just gonna have to lean into it. And sometimes it's like ripping a Band-Aid. Like, you walk in, you look at them, and you have to go, I'm really sorry for all the things that I did to you, and it brings me pain, but I just wanted to tell you that I'm really sorry. And then you have to like walk away. It's that awkward. It's storybook, like movie cinematic apologies aren't always the way it goes. Another way is to just step right into it and to say, here's where I messed up. Like, you don't bring their side of the story into it, you just own your side. And say, hey, I know I was a bad listener. Hey, I know that me not inviting you really hurt you. That you own your side. So that's the action. So now I want you to, those are just some tangible things. Talk to your coach. Ask them how they handle these kinds of conversations in their marriages, in their friendships, in their work environment. Like, how do you mend these conflicts so that way you can have a clear conscience, so that you can get on with life instead of being controlled by the doom of regret. But then I want you to also think about at least one. Maybe you have like a list of 10, but at least one relationship that you need to clear your conscience about. That you have to, before you come worship God, you have to go make that right. And then God can start working in you. And how do we do it? We remember the forgiveness of Jesus Christ that crossed off your whole list of sins and says, now go and sin no more. That same forgiveness is what we have to offer to the people around us. Cool. I hope saying turd is okay.